It is official. JT Realmuto is coming back to the Philadelphia Phillies, and the terms have been officially announced. However, it comes with a bit of a twist as a surprising roster move was made to make room for the veteran catcher, as Weston Wilson is the guy who saw his name on the chopping block and was DFA'd in the process. To break down exactly what this means for the Phillies, was it the right decision, and why there should be some frustrated feelings over the tune of Dave Dombrowski's overall press conference to announce it. So to jump right into things here, we're going to start with the official tweet from the Phillies account that says the Phillies have re-signed catcher JT Realmuto to a 3-year contract to make room for him on the 40-man roster. Infielder/outfielder Weston Wilson was designated for assignment. And to set the full context of what this means right here, did want to pull up a bit from this article, which states the Phillies announced this morning that they've designated infielder Weston Wilson for assignment. The move makes room for veteran catcher JT Realmuto, whose new contract with Philadelphia is now official on the 40-man roster. Wilson, 31, has appeared in 100 games for the Phillies over the past 3 seasons, while being used in an up-and-down bench role. He slashed a respectable 242, 328, and 428 across 245 trips to the plate in the big leagues, with 8 stolen bases and 9 homers. That's decent enough production from a bench player, and Wilson has paired it with decent versatility. While he's primarily played left field at the majors, he's also received time at second base, third base, first base, and right field. He's also seen time at shortstop in the minors, though that was not the case this past year. That combination of versatility and a solid resume in the big leagues might make Wilson seem like a very attractive bench piece, but a tough 2025 season casts doubt on that assessment. When looking exclusively at his most recent campaign, Wilson hit just 198, 282, and 326 in the majors across 54 games. Underlying metrics included a 10.3% barrel rate, an unusually low 238 BIP, and a 330 expected WOBA here that significantly outpaces his 288 all suggest. Bottom line, getting into the weeds of this, Weston Wilson is not going to be with the Phillies for this year. I do want to dive deeper into what that means and sort of the roster, but before we do that, got to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor.
Before we get into the rest of today's show, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. If you download Kalshi using the link in the description and use code DIGESTMLB, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform you can trade yes or no on real-life events such as sports, elections, news, pretty much anything. Now, whether you're in California, Texas, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. For us sports fans, we can turn on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market in which you can cash out at any time. Looking at that NL East division title odds, we can see Philadelphia right there at the 32% odd on the trade yes. I think it's a really good one to make right now. We can also see the odds on their forecasted win total on Kalshi that you can trade on as well. It's genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close your position whenever you want. Test your ball knowledge today by downloading Kalshi with the link in the description. And again, use code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. We appreciate everybody at Kalshi for making this video possible.
And shout out to our guy Tyler over on Phillies Tailgate, who's always on top of things, who I think put my thoughts in a pretty effective way. As he tweets, I'm mildly surprised that Weston Wilson was DFA'd over Nolan Hoffman and Pedro Leon. Wilson is out of options and would have needed to make the team out of spring training, but I thought he would have had a good opportunity to make it. Does this mean the Phillies are adding another outfielder before spring training? And the overall point that I would make here is the guy who this is the biggest vote of confidence in is Otto Kemp. Otto Kemp has absolutely leapfrogged Wilson as sort of the spark plug guy that can play a variety of positions. And frankly, I think Otto can be more than that. But I do think there is a world where he does develop into a guy that is a pretty consistent starter on this Phillies team. He has had a pretty, you don't see this level of rise that we saw from him last year. A guy who basically came out of nowhere, burst onto the scene, and commanded that he deserved real MLB time and played pretty well when given the opportunities. It wouldn't shock me if they're talking about making like a long-term platoon for this season of Brandon Marsh and Otto Kemp as your primary left fielders there. We'll see how things do shake out. We'll see what Justin Crawford actually has at the major league level, but nonetheless, a storyline to watch. Now, another detail that we did get on the JT situation is what exactly this contract is. We got the raw numbers for 3 years, $45 million with some incentives, but the incentives that are built in at a maximum of $5 million per year is $2 million for an all-star selection, which I don't think we unfortunately will have to worry about with JT, but who knows, he could prove me wrong. $1 million or $2 million for the fan vote, $1 million for the non-fan vote, $1 million for a Gold Glove, $1 million for a Silver Slugger, and $2 million for a top 10 MVP finish. Pretty certain we will not have to worry about that. Now, in general, I like these incentive-based contracts. That I think it is good for guys to want to bet on themselves, and I think from an organizational standpoint, that it does, have guys earn it to an extent. That the guaranteed money, I'm not going to say it makes guys complacent. I think all these guys do try. That I think generally the critiques of players to get largely overstated for effort. That I generally think these guys do want to give you everything they got and play their best baseball. But in reality, that cannot happen every single time that they are out on the field. But nonetheless, with JT specifically, I would like there to be a little bit of a hunger in his gut. In the same way that Bryce Harper, I think, has woken up this offseason, they need that version of JT. This guy has been the best catcher in baseball in his career. He wasn't this past season and really hasn't been for a couple years. If you can find that, that would be great for this Phillies team. Now, granted, with that being said, doesn't tend to happen for guys in their late 30s. The rip-off in his age 34 season, what we got from JT Realmuto was 12 home runs, 52 RBIs, a 315 on-base percentage there, had 502 at-bats, 129 hits, and 129 strikeouts, a slugging percentage of 385, just not quite the level of pop that did used to exist in his play, but nonetheless with JT, there's a lot more that goes into it. The intangibles that he does possess for managing a pitching staff, calling a game, that it is worth noting that the Phillies sort of abandoned this game plan of we are going to get him off his feet at a more regular rate this season, provide more rest. They pretty much said, actually, changed our mind on that. We're going to play JT at the same level we always did by about the midway point in the season last year. The thing that is a point of frustration that I think should be made clear that also went down to the press conference was this quote from Dave Dombrowski. On the potential of signing another marquee free agent, quote, we're content where we are. And one thing that was awkward when kind of taking it in is all parties basically acknowledging, like, if Bo Bichette had signed with the Phillies, JT Realmuto is not going to be a member of the team. And JT himself said, like, my team made it clear that we always wanted to be back in Philadelphia. Got a little bit hairy there at the end, but happy that we did find a way to get a deal done there. And Dave Dombrowski addressing things head on, that he talked about that. He made a legitimate offer, that they thought he was coming to Philly. Ultimately, it did not come together. And he believed there was real interest from Bichette, that they were not being used as, to drive up the price point, which I still kind of think was the case. But nonetheless, the bottom line is he's a Met and we can hate that guy forever. It was pretty awkward to just see the interaction of like, yeah, we're thrilled that JT's back. We wouldn't have signed him if Bo Bichette had signed here, but nonetheless, he didn't. So this is our guy. Kind of awkward in the whole way, but the bottom line is JT Realmuto is back as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's going to be a huge part of this team for the duration of this deal, and I am not as negative about this as I think the general consensus. I do think that the Phillies did a poor job of setting him up for this by handing him the deal basically an hour after Bichette did sign it, being pretty clear what the reasoning for that was, but ultimately, I did not see a pathway to them doing better at the catcher position than what JT Realmuto is currently offering. He's still a high-level catcher comparatively around the league. He's not what he once was, but he's certainly better than a lot of options out there, and the pathway to getting those options, I do think is pretty unclear. So to JT Realmuto, welcome back to Philadelphia, my friend. It does unfortunately feel like this is going to be a full run-it-back season, and for that reason, I do think we have reason to be frustrated. You can't do the gymnastics of convincing me that this current roster is better than last year or in past seasons because it just straight up is not, but who knows? Managers also work in silence, and Dave Dombrowski is certainly a guy who fits that criteria, so maybe he does have a trick up his sleeve that could change my tune a little bit. For the time being, we're going to continue breaking things down right here on Phillies Digest. So appreciate you guys rocking with me. Tune into the video today. Drop your thoughts below on the overall deal, deciding the offseason as a whole. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not just yet. Drop a like on this video. We'll be back talking to you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.